Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone. Today I want to tell you about 4 topics in business law. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Internal Syafiqah binti Arba'in and I'm from Delhi 2. This is my map for law of contract. Do you know what is a contract? Let me explain. A contract is an agreement between two parties or more parties that is legally binding them. What is the difference between agreement and contract? For agreement based on Section 2E of the Contract Act 1950, every promise and every set of promise forming the consideration for each other is an agreement. While for contract based on Section 2H of the Contract Act 1915, an agreement enforceable by law is a contract, an agreement which is legally binding between the parties. And based on Section 2G, an agreement not enforceable by law is said to be void. In business law, have 3 types of contract, which is valid contract, void contract, and voidable contract. Contract will be valid if all the elements of a valid contract is fulfilled. The element of a valid contract is number 1, offer or proposal. You guys can refer Section 2A of the Contract Act 1950. Easy word, when I take a good and I want to pay at a counter, that called as offer. Have 2 types of proposal. 1, specific proposal. 2, general proposal. And the case is Carly v. Carbolic Smoke Bowl Company Ltd. 1893. Number 2 is acceptance. The definition of acceptance you can refer on Section 2B and 2C. In easy word, when I pay a good at the counter and the cashier accept my money. And the case for acceptance is Antares v. Miles for his scope. It is counter offer. The counter offer is where an offeree responds to an offer by making offer on different terms, and the section for counter offer is 7B. And the case for counter offer is Hartree v. Branch 8040. 4 is consideration. You guys can refer Section 2D for defined consideration. In easy word, consideration is when I get my good and the cashier get my money. Types of consideration, which is accessory consideration, executive consideration, and past consideration. And the case for consideration is Chapel and Co. Ltd. v. Nestle Co. Ltd. 1960. Number 5 is intention to create legal relations. A contract can divide by 2 ways, which is commercial contract and domestic, social, and family agreement. For the first is commercial agreement, which is there was an intention to create legal relation, and the case for commercial agreement is Khalid v. Carbolic Smoke Bowl Co. 1893. 2 is domestic, social, and family agreement. Is no intention to create legal relation, and the case is Balfour v. Balfour 1990. Number 6 is capacity. This is by Section 10, 11, and 12. The case for capacity is Nash v. Inman 1908. 7 is certainty. In easy word, certainty is we must to identify that's good we want to buy. And the section for certainty is Section 30. The case for certainty is Kalupan Chetty v. Swahdian 1916. But no, this is legally of object. Have a 5 condition to legally of object, you guys can refer Section 24. Number two of type of contract is void contract. This is when a contract is void, it is not valid. Contract can be void if the eight element for a valid contract is not fulfilled and if the contract is not enforceable by law. The section for void contract is 26, 27, 28, 29 and 31. Type of contract is voidable contract. And you guys can refer section 10, 13 and 14. The contract will be voidable if 5 conditions will meet. Number 1 is sea ocean. You guys can refer section 15 is to define sea ocean. And the case for sea ocean is kesamaan S.O. Lechman-Das Villapio Cita 1954. The 2 is fraud. The fraud is intentional receiving and the section for fraud is section 17. And the case is Wong Cheong Kong SDN versus Prudential Insurance SDN USD 1998. This is unreasonable influence and the section for under influence is section 16. And the case is Inci Noria v. Sheikh Ali bin Omar. Number 4 is misrepresentation and this is has no attention to cheating. And the section for this is section 18 is mistake. The mistake is for section 21 of the Contract Act 1950. There are 4 types of discharge of contract. Number 1 is discharge by performance and the section is section 38. Number 2 is discharge by agreement and the section is section 63 and section 64. Number 3 is discharge by impossibility of performance. The section is section 57 and number 4 and is discharge by breach for the section 40. Remedies for breach a contract. 1 is damage. Damage is based on section 74. Damage are granted to a party as financial compensation for the damage, loss and injury he has suffered to breach a contract. Number 2 is rescission of contract or cancelling the contract. Number 3 is specific performance. Number 4 injunction is section 11 and number 5 is quantum merit is section 51. Made for legal aspect in business entities. 3 types of business entities, which is 1 sole proprietorship, 2 partnership and 3 is company. I will explain to you one by one. 1 is sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship is where one person is involved in running a business for himself. This is mean when one person is arrange a business for himself. Number 2 is partnership. A partnership is the relationship that subsists between 2 or more persons carrying on a business in common with a view of profit. This means have a partner to arrange a business to make a profit. 3 is company, the third and dominant form of business organization in the incorporated company. This means more persons arrange the business that's called as company. In business entities, there are many characteristics between sole proprietorship, partnership, and company. Number 1 is formation. For sole proprietorship, there's only one person arrange the business. And for partnership, we have 2 partnership, normal partnership and limited liability partnership. For the normal partnership is 2 to 20%. And for the limited liability partnership is no maximum limited. And for company, private company is 50% and other company no maximum number. Registration for sole proprietorship is registration with Company Commission of Malaysia CCM under. One is Shell of Robah 1956, and number 2 is Registration of Business Rule 1957. CCM under 1, Shell of Robah 1956. Number 2 is Registration of Business Rule 1957. And for company is registration with Company Commission of Malaysia CCM as a company under Companies Act 1956. Sole proprietorship is owned and managed for himself. For partnership is partner are agent of the firm for carrying on its business in the ordinary course of business. For company is member of company is neither its manager is not agent. The dissolution is sole proprietorship may be dissolved formally by the sole proprietorship himself. For the partnership is partnership may be dissolved informally and company dissolved by a formal procedure. One is winding up, 2 liquidation. And the case for business legal entity is Salomon v. A. Salomon and Co. Ltd. 1867. Law agency F2-. The definition of agency. Agency is the relationship with substance between the principal and the agent who has authorized to act for him to represent him in dealing with others. For the definition principle, you guys can refer section 135, and the definition of agent, you guys can refer section 135. There are 3 types in law of agency, which is number 1 is by function, number 2 is by authority, and number 3 formation. For the by function, number 1 is broker, number 2 is factor, number 3 is decreder, number 4 is auctioneer, number 5 is banker. For the by authority is number 1 is universal, number 2 is general, number 3 is special. The formation is number 1 is agency by express appointment. You guys can refer section 140. Number 2 is agency by implied appointment. This is also you guys can refer section 140. And this is circumstance of the case. Number 1 is implied from the word or the regular conduct of the parties. Number 2 is implied by partnership Act 161. Number 3 is implied from the relationship husband and wife. 3 is agency by ratification. You guys can refer by section 149 and have 9 conditions for ratification, which is number 1 is contract done by exceeding or without authority. Number 2 is contract must be legal and the case is Brook v. Hope. Number 3 is agent act expressly in the name of the principal and the case is Catley, McTurn and Company v. Durant. Number 4 is principal must actually exist at the time of contracting and the case is Kellner v. Bector. Number 5 is principal must have contractual capacity. Number 6 is principal must have full knowledge of all material facts and the case is Marx v. Josephs. And number 7 is principal must ratify the whole contract. Number 8 is ratification must be made within a reasonable time. Number 9 is ratification must not injure or affect the interest of a 3 person. is agency by estoppel. You guys can refer section 190. And number 5 is agent by necessity or emergency. This is, you guys can refer section 143. And the case is Great Northern Railway v. Swafford. The condition for the necessity or emergency is number 1 is real and actual emergency. Number 2, the agent was entrusted with the principal property or goods. Number 3 is impossible for an agent to get the principal instruction. Number 4 is agent acted in good faith. Principle, you guys can refer section 164, section 165, section 166, section 167, and section 171. And the right of agent against the principal is number 1 is right to do remuneration, which is this is salary. Number 2 is right of lien. Number 3 is right to reimburse or identify. And the duties of principal toward his agent is number 1, pay agent commission and the other remuneration agreed upon unless the agency relationship is graduation. Number 2 is identify and reimburse the agent for anything done in carrying out his duties. Number 3, not to prevent agent to earn commission. And the right of principal when discover agent to secret profit is profit the acquire any benefit in the cause and in the matter of his agency without the knowledge and consent of his principal. For example, this is for use of property, use of position, and use of information or knowledge. And the termination of agency have 2, which is number 1 is by operation of law. You guys can refer section 154 have 6 type of operation of law, and number 2 is by act of the parties, which is number 1 is the mutual consent, number 2 is unilateral renewal by the agent, number 3 is unilateral revocation by is my mind map for sale of goods. Have two type implied term in SOGA, which is number 1 is implied warranty and number 2 is implied condition. For implied warranty, number 1 is quit possession of good. You guys can refer section 40B. And number 2 is the good are free from encumbrance. You guys can refer section 40C. And for the implied condition, number 1 is implied condition as to title. You guys can refer section 40A, and the case is Roland v. Devil, 1923, and the number 2 is implied condition. That's the good correspond with description, and the case is Negudes Push Thomas and Co. v. Mitsu Busan Kesha Ltd. 1911, and this is under section 15, and number 3 is implied condition as to time. This is section 11, and the case is Harrington v. Brownie, and number 4 is implied condition as to fitness or particular purpose, and this is based on section 16, and the case is Green v. Australian Knitting Mill, 1636, and number 5 is implied condition that the good must be vegetable quality, and this is based on section 61, and the case is David Jones Ltd. v. Willis, 1934, and the last implied condition by sample, and this is based on section 17, and the case is Goodless v. Perry, 1960. And the definition of caveat emptor is the principle that the buyer alone is responsible for checking the quality and suitability of the good before a purchase is made. And number 1 is individual sale based on section 15. Number 2 is trade sale based on section 61A. The nemo that quite non-habit is meaning no one can give a better title than he himself possession. This is based on section 27.1, and the exception of nemo that quite non-habit is number 1 is estoppel, and the section is section 27. Case for estoppel is Estate Distribution v. Colding, 1957. Is sale by mercantile agent. This is based on section 24. And the case is case Patient v. Rose and Young Ltd, 1950. And number 3 is sale by one of joint owner. This is based on section 28. Number 4 is sale under the voidable title. This is based on section 29. And number 5 is sale by a seller in possession after sale. This is section 30. And last, the sale by a buyer in possession. This is based on section 30. Right of seller is failure of buyer to accept good. This is based on section 56, which is seller may sue damage for non-acceptance. And next is failure of good to take delivery. This is section 44. And the premise for unpaid seller is the definition is based on section 45. And the right is the number 1 is right of lien based on section 46. Number 2 is stoppage in transit based on section 50. And number 3 is right to resell section 54. And the remedies of buyer, and in case of breach of contract, buyer can claim 1. Damage based on section 57. And number 2 is specific performance, section 58. Number 3 is remedy for breach of warranty, section 59. And number 4 is action under tort. That's all.